now.
Chris, my record button is grayed out. Just so you know, I don't think it's recording.
It's recording on my computer.
If you look at
I
the upper
understand.
left-hand corner,
Okay.
you will see a red recording light.
Yeah, mine's recording
I
here,
see
so I
it.
think we're
Thanks.
good.
Cool. Okay, there we go. All right. Looks like we got about 46 people in attendance, or 27 attendees, 19 panelists.
Okay, we'll get started. Welcome to the San Diego Rowing Club Annual General Membership Meeting. Your presence today is appreciated and important to the club. We are enjoying our 133rd year as part of the San Diego community. The purpose of the AGM is to inform the members of how the club has been operating and to provide the opportunity to form the leadership for the following year. From March of last year to the present, we've all been on an emotional roller coaster. And with no exit of our own choosing for many things. I personally appreciate everyone's support of the club, including but not limited to keeping your membership active, following safe practices, and remaining civil and engaging with each other. Sorry that we have not, I miss seeing a lot of people in social contexts. And we have a lot of empathy for those who have been impacted this last year in an adverse manner, and hope that you are doing well. We aren't going to spend a lot of time on details regarding part of the emotional things of this last year. Those are details which come forth in our various committees and board meetings, which you are certainly welcome to attend. We will express what we've done this last year, how you can participate, and what we're planning on for 2021. Chris, can we move to the next slide, please? So since this is our first Zoom AGM, there are opportunities for us to be understood and misunderstood. This meeting is being recorded and will be placed on YouTube so that it can be reviewed later by people who could not make it today. This is a Zoom webinar, not a call, and so things work differently. Chris is our host, and the board will be working with him to move through the slides and move through Q&A and other things. So your panelists are visible, and the panelists consist of your current board, the proposed board, and the nominating committee. I appreciate that everybody could attend today. Attendees can be allowed to speak by the host at the appropriate time. Question and answers, we would like you to submit them via the Q&A function within Zoom. You'll find that at the bottom right-hand side of most Zoom interfaces. You can enter questions at any time, and we'll get to them. And as a reminder, the board is volunteers that serve at the pleasure of the membership. We hope that you find today's meeting informational and enjoyable. Thanks for being here. Okay, so let's move to we'll start off with the agenda, and I'll review it, and then we'll go through the first part of the agenda, which is the roll call and call for proxies, which is our quorum count. So the agenda is set forth in the bylaws and we will try to follow it to the best of our ability. So we'll do a roll call. We will review the minutes from the 2020 annual general membership meeting. There will be reports of the officers, the treasurer's report, captain's report, junior's report, president's report, followed by awards. Then the election for the 2021 board, which will be run by Ed Parrish of the nominating committee. The meeting will, then there will be a motion to adjourn the meeting, and hopefully that will get seconded and we will adjourn. There is a special video presentation to honor a member of the board after the adjournment. We encourage you to stay online after that and watch it. So Willard, I'm going to turn this over to you and Chris for roll call and quorum count.
Hey, Chris. We need, I believe, 55 members present.
We are good.
We're good? Okay. We have at least 55 members present. All right. So Dan, I think we have a quorum.
Okay. Let's move to the minutes. That's highlights. Where's the minutes? Unhide that slide. Can you present it again? Put it in presentation mode. Okay, let's move on. So these are the minutes from the 2020 annual general membership meeting on February 1st, 2020. We started the meeting at 10 a.m. I'm not going to read all the minutes. I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I second the motion.
Any discussion in the board? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? The minutes are approved. So let's move to the second step of the agenda. The treasurer's report. Let's go back to the highlight slide for a minute, Chris, just to get things off on the right foot. Sorry, these slides are a little out of order. So we did reopen on May 5th. Our membership held steady. Thank you all. We formed our DEI committee, partnered with YMCA, Prevent Drowning Foundation of San Diego, STEM to Stern, and have coordinated with other organizations in San Diego. We secured Paycheck Protection Program funds and EDL funds, and we're able to retain all of our employees as a result. We did cancel our purchase of 8 4s in May and acquired 5 singles to meet the demand of the membership. We've been experiencing over 1,000 rows per month since May of 2020. That's phenomenal. You're all excellent scholars by this time. Our Learn to Row classes have been full. Our juniors from last year, 100% of them were admitted to college. The high performance summer camps were filled. We have been able to create a juniors program that meets COVID guidelines and allows us only half of the athletes that we normally support, but we do have a program that is active and running. We completed the locker room remodels. We updated the skylights on the Gardy. We also repainted half the building and all of the club oars. All of these things have been done during our downtime, and appreciate the support and the volunteering that people have given on those activities. So let's go to the treasurer's report. Ellen, the floor is yours.
Okay, so this slide just represents the breakdown of the sales that happened during the year 2020. Just shows you, the majority of it came from the master's program, 468, 992. Juniors was 278,125, and the Gardy provided $11,000 in revenue. So this slide represents a trend in gross revenue starting in 2014, and you can see it's been growing every year until, obviously this year there's a big drop due to obviously COVID and not being able to do regattas and a bunch of other things. So it's pretty, shows a pretty dramatic drop for 2020. The next slide, I guess. This slide shows the equipment purchases over the year, and one thing we want to highlight was that we were able to do all that with cash and no additional debt was taken out to buy anything. And the $69,000 pretty much represents the singles we bought in November, and I think some ergs. Is that correct, Chris? Ergs?
Correct.
Okay. Next slide. And this slide represents the balances of cash at the end of each year. And the major drop for this year was due to the purchases of the equipment and the bathroom project. That's right. Is there anything else than that? And just that revenue went down a little bit. This slide just shows the total assets starting in 2016, and you can see that everything is growing. That includes cash, building improvements, and obviously all the boats in the boathouse. So what else? Slide is very similar, showing increase in cash and equipment, and you can see that the debt associated with it is the small red lines on the bottom, and the major debt was just the truck, and right now it's pretty much almost all paid off. Next slide, I guess. Not moving. So these are the highlights for the 2020. There was $67,000 raised during fundraising in 2020. 13,000 of it came from naming of the new boats. And part of that, the juniors contributed $25,000 to the new boats. The Ergathon raised $31,000. Made a donation of stock that raised $6.4 thousand. And the balance is just individual contributions, Amazon Smile, miscellaneous. And we continue to implement financial plans and fiscal responsibilities, and executing on lease developments. One of the major highlights I want to point out though for this year is that even though we had a huge decrease in revenue, we stayed fiscally responsible, and I think you'll see from future slides that we were able to stay in the black for 2020.
Yeah, that's the next slide.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, so even though we spent money on equipment and building improvements, the cash only went down by $165,000. And a big part of that was we received, you see on the third thing is we received almost $90,000 in the Paycheck Protection Plan, and we got the $10,000 grant from the EIDL. And those both have been fully forgiven. So, and then the locker room upgrade expenses were planned for and executed. So that was no additional cash needed for that. Those were already planned as part of the lease that we have with the city. And then cash remains our preferred method for making improvements. So we have not added any debt, which is great. That's it.
Okay, we're on to the captain's report. Jane, you're up.
Well, good morning, everyone. So I'll start with a summary of our equipment. So we have the same team boats we had last year that are all collecting a little dust and a little lonely, but we do have 10 8s. We have 6 4s, 5 quads, and a straight 4. And I think we all miss these boats and sigh a little bit as we walk past them. But on the plus side, we are all definitely improving our sculling. So that's good. Next slide. So we have 13 pair doubles that are getting some use by household doubles. We have 20 singles and 10 single trainers. And I'd say that there are few boathouses that can boast 30 singles available to their membership. The ones in red are the 5 new singles that we purchased in 2020. And a big thanks to all those who donated to these fantastic boats. And they are being rowed every single day of the week, virtually all of them. It's kind of hard to get a boat actually on the weekend, but they're great. Next slide. So we have 7 launches stashed around the bays. We have new rolling rack for all these newer boats. New Cox boxes in their handy store and charge closet. I'm sure you've all seen that are just itching to be used. We have nearly 50 ergs and they're rotated out every 2 years. So they're almost virtually new. What we don't have is space. So our boathouse is busting at the seams, and yet Chris is doing a fantastic job managing every square inch of our boathouse. So he's looked in every nook and cranny, on the walls, the floor, up under the rafters, around every corner for a usable space. So Chris, thanks. You've done a great job with that. So although we didn't have much of a racing season, really none, you could say that 2020 was undefeated. So yay! But in a lot of ways, we really were undefeated in 2020. So like everyone, we were presented with really an unprecedented challenge. And we responded quickly, creating protocols, following the guidelines established by the state, the county, the city. And like Dan said, other boathouses used our protocols because they were thorough and thoughtfully created. Our membership numbers actually increased during 2020. We were able to retain all coaches and staff. And although a few juniors and masters did test positive, procedures were followed and there was no spread at the boathouse. So that kind of thank you to everybody. And many thanks to our C19 team. So a shout out to Wayne Seville, John Chakowski, Sean Turpey, Dan, and Chris, and myself. If you've been to the boathouse in the past 2 months, hopefully you've seen the locker rooms. They're absolutely gorgeous. We've more than doubled in the women's locker room. We've more than tripled the amount of storage units that we have available. And a shout out to Randy Hanna, our resident architect, the Gardy skylights, and some other cool infrastructure that was added that you'll see will be utilized when we're back to full capacity. And it's just really a lot of thought went into all of this. D&I is an area that we're increasing our efforts and putting a lot of proactive and positive time and energy into. There's quite a bit of activity happening behind the scenes, and many thanks to Katrina and the D&I committee for spearheading this initiative. So we're really fortunate at SDRC to, not yet, Chris, almost, but we're really fortunate to have a spirit of volunteerism that is alive and well. And so members give graciously of their expertise, their time, energy, and we definitely tapped into all of that this past year. You know, I don't know if you know, but Emil, who is one of our board members, and his son helped Chris paint the exterior of the boathouse early on in the pandemic. So our volunteers are they're a quiet and stealthy bunch, but thank you all for everything that you do when no one's looking. Next slide. So Sports U and iCrew have been incredibly valuable during COVID especially. And so these will continue to be great apps for us as we move into like a more normal activity. And a lot of folks have self-organized. So a shout out to Ralph and Glenn, the women, nicely done getting out there and having some fun. We had lots of virtual erg racing and many, many millions of meters rowed, both on the water and on the erg. And Chris was able to put on the Fall Classic, although a very pared down version of it. And soon you'll hear about the juniors program, which is going strong even through this crazy year. All of our coaches were able to attend the annual convention since it was virtual. So that was a real plus. And so education continues on with their coaching and all sorts of, from diet to weightlifting and everything. And socially, it's been quite a productive year. So Chris and Danny got married, finally. Tom Pezic and Shelby got married. They were actually married by Pat Kington on the beach at the boathouse. Sam Stitt and Laura got engaged. Susan Francie and Ryan, they got engaged. They got married. And they are having a baby any day now, any day. So she likes to do everything fast, that's Susan Francia. Trish Draminsky, one of our outgoing board members, gave birth to her second son, Oliver, who we've all seen here. And then Benton and Amber had their first baby. So we have lots of future rowers. So that's a lot of growth. And speaking of growth, in 4 days, Ed Parrish will be 80 years old and still rowing strong. Pauline and Catherine on the women's side, they are 78 and still rowing strong every week. Our oldest member is Stu Neffler. He's 89 years old and he'd still be rowing, but at 89, he's being super extra careful about coming down to the boathouse. But one of the things I always like to say about Stu is his US rowing number is 5. I just love that. Next slide, please. So we have a lot of growth happening at the boathouse. So we really want to embrace it. You can load up the whole slide, Chris. So SCRC is one of the oldest organizations and a really important part of the larger San Diego community. We have a very rich history and traditions are continually honored, like our New Year's Day plunge, Burr, but we have a few dozen people that show up every year and jump in that cold water like it's been done since the beginning. And through our past 133 years, SDRC leadership and members have always looked to the future and the advancement of rowing. And in continuing on with this tradition, we too should look to the future. We're not the same club we were 100 years ago or 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, we had 125 members. Today, we have 320 members. 10 years ago, we had 75 juniors. Today, we have almost double that at 145. 10 years ago, our racing fleet was on average over 10 years old. Today, our racing fleet on average is less than 5 years old. And our training fleet on average is only 5 to 10 years old. Also in the past 10 years, we have had a few notable accomplishments. We won Masters Championships twice in 2015 and 2018, with over 100 of us in our red and whites. We've won a few medals at Head of the Charles, including golds. We have wins at World Masters, as well as wins at the Crew Classic, and hopefully you'll all participate and support this local favorite. Rowing is also a great excuse to travel with your mates and represent San Diego at the international level. We've competed.
We also have golds at Henley's Masters.
Sorry, what's that?
We also have golds at Henley's Masters.
Right, I'm getting there, Dano.
Sorry.
Hey, I was only on the national accomplishments. Now let's get into international. We've actually competed in our red and whites representing San Diego, in England at Henley, where we won a few golds. We raced in Germany, Slovenia, New Zealand, and other countries. So it's really fun. Growth is a good thing. It brings opportunities. And so San Diego is a community organization. Our doors are open to all, and we should all take great pride in continuing to make our sport accessible to all. It's one of the unique qualities that separates us from a private club. So we want to always improve. I think it's safe to say that most of us are driven to continually improve, certainly our technique and speed, but we're about more than just that. It's improving the boathouse, whether it's picking up a broom or a paintbrush, volunteering our time, generously opening our wallets, planning an event, helping with an event. All these little things matter and they make a big difference. Also, we want to inspire others and strive to be a positive inspiration. I mean, encourage a fellow athlete or welcome a new rower. You never know the effect a tiny, seemingly insignificant gesture may have. I will always remember walking into the boathouse my very first time and being welcomed with a huge smile and open arms. And that pretty much sealed the deal. I thought, well, I guess I'm going to become a rower. So words and actions are powerful. We have a boathouse full of juniors. This is a multi-generational endeavor we have at SDRC. We all share a passion for rowing. So it's not surprising that we're often regarded as role models. So it's likely that our professions have influenced career choices of some of our juniors, as well as potential internships and job opportunities. So be generous with what you know and who you know. I included a photo of Susan Francia and her parents for a couple of reasons. Susan is, of course, a two-time gold medal Olympian, so talk about inspiration. But did you know that her mother is a highly regarded research scientist who co-discovered the mRNA technology used in COVID vaccines? So really, inspiration is all around in many, many forms. This being my last meeting as captain, I'd just like to share a few personal thoughts. So I often think about how special SDRC has been and is to me, and how much richer my life has become because of all of you. SDRC is a place where we can row 365 days a year, most of them sunny and warm. We have access to arguably the finest fleet of boats and equipment, I would say, in the world. We have a boathouse that's financially sound and debt-free. We meet people and become so close. We're friends for life and cannot even imagine not knowing them. We know people who will be at our side at some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows you'll ever know, not just in rowing, but in life. We travel to spectacular race venues. We load trailers into the dark, and we make toast to races hard fought, some that we even won. So SDRC is a place that makes you happy, and it's possible because of the 500 or so people that make it tick. So, embrace this growth, embrace each other, flaws and all, and be an inspiration, and approach the boathouse with kindness and a bit of patience so that this community continues to grow for the next 50 years. It's been my honor and great privilege to have been captain of the San Diego Rowing Club. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jane. That was terrific, and we've benefited greatly from having you here. And are you rowing tomorrow?
Tomorrow? No.
Every day. That was terrific, and appreciate what you've done for us. I'm sure everybody does, and look forward to having you volunteer for many things. Okay, we're going to have Chris Callahan do the juniors report. Rich Cosgrove is a brand new president of the juniors, taking over from Glenn Belitho. Glenn, thank you so much for your good stewardship over the last year and a half. And Rich rowed with SDRC in the 1990s and has returned, and his son is an active junior in our programs. We're going to have Chris do the juniors report this year. Rich will do it next year.
Okay, so with the pre-COVID coaching situation, we were able to maintain everyone. And in this year, this school year, the middle school and novice programs have been moved to the weekends, and we have a session for each, up to 20 athletes. being able to use the singles in the middle of the day from 11 to kind of 3 o'clock. And it's been pretty successful. There are 150 people on the email list wanting to have their kids, try rowing. So we are very thankful to have, a big interest that once we can get back into the eights, that it's going to look forward to having a lot of those people transition into the actual normal programs and be busier than ever. We have a bunch of volunteers. Rich Cosgrove is the junior president. We have a volunteer coordinator, Kathleen Hanlon, food committee chair, David Gray. Unfortunately, we haven't gone to any meetings, therefore no food has been cooked. And then Colette Belitho and Shannon Cates have been helping with a lot of the transportation, figuring out how parents can help out. Okay, let's go here. So we had about 145, 150 athletes last year before COVID. Since then, the summer programs were very busy with limited numbers per session. And the varsity program, which is 5 days a week right now during the week, is about 70 to 75. And the weekend programs are just for the novices. Let's see. So with the impact from COVID, everything's just been modified. We've done everything that we can to keep as many people rowing as possible and have been very successful in doing so. On the weekends, everybody knows it's hard to get a boat, but we have adult learn to row, we have the junior programs, the regular membership, and some one-on-one lessons going on at the same time. So the 30 singles we have are being used 3-4 times a day, which is, very, very impressive. From last year, we have a whole bunch of kids going to universities for rowing listed here. For 2021, we've had some commitments so far also listed. Very good universities, good rowing programs. It's kind of continuing our trend of all the flags on the wall. I haven't got any flags for the last few years, but we try to collect them all so we can advertise, where the kids go to school. And it's very cool to see. The Ergothon raised $31,000 and they contributed 25 of that towards the new singles. They were able to name 2 of them, so that was really cool. The Big Papa and the Red Zeppelin. All right, Dan.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, can we go to the first slide? Hi, so as always, and Jane rightly thanked our hidden volunteers. We always do need them. There are some self-directed efforts that you can take care of anytime you'd like, sweeping the apron, rebuilding the beach in between when the city comes and dumps sand so that the step isn't so high. Sand remains one of the great enemies of our equipment in the boathouse, and it does blow in underneath the doors. You can also volunteer to help create our future and guide it by being part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, our Finance Committee, our Capital Committee, our Return to Rowing and Fundraising Committees. Each of these committees are designed so that the members can help guide the board. The committees bring recommendations to the board, and then the board reviews those recommendations to see if they fit, where we're going to go and if the logic and the reasoning is correct. And then we go forward with it. Your board is, again, a number of volunteers, and we don't spend 20 hours a week. Some of us don't spend 20 hours a week on the rowing club. As far as planned events, many things are just TBD for the remainder of the year, all based on how well the greater San Diego County community behaves and gets vaccines. And if we can tamp down the spread, many things will happen. Chris, can we go to the next one? So just a visual representation of our membership metrics over the last decade. We have had considerable growth, a little bit of flattening and downturn this year in the master's program as some people decline to be members until such time as we can return to 8s and 4s and bigger boats. But overall, we really did a great job, and I appreciate everyone continuing their membership. When the pandemic hit, several of us went out and did research on what happened to nonprofit organizations in the financial crisis of 2009 through 2011. One of the things we learned from that research was to give our members choices. Would you like to continue your membership? Would you like to discontinue it for a period of time? We gave each member, depending on their needs, those options, and Chris was very good about handling that. That enabled us to maintain our financial stability through this crisis, and it is terrifically appreciated. So in the diversity, where are we? This is just a summary and not meant to be exhaustive. If you'd like to join the DEI committee or hear about what we're doing at a board meeting, please do come. We enjoy guests, and you can learn more. So we did a survey in the fall, and amongst the many dimensions of diversity, we are low when it comes to race and ethnicity, high with regard to gender, ability, low in demographic coverage, and social standing. There's nothing particularly that was incredibly surprising about the survey. There are some comments that we need to work on as an organization towards a more positive interaction model with each other. In terms of equity, and we've been moving towards a more equitable boathouse for many years. It wasn't until 1974 that women were part of the membership, the male and pale membership of the rowing club before 1974, and that changed. And of late, we've had many women on our boards in important positions, on our volunteer committees, and they may even make up more than 50% of our boathouse. But we've also moved towards making sure people can get into boats based on their qualifications, and we have been working on this for quite some time. We are not done. Jane hit our points of inclusion really well. Every single person at SDRC represents the organization. Our words matter. How we engage with others in San Diego, in the boathouse, with the colleges, with anybody, we represent SDRC. If we use words that do not positively reflect SDRC, that reflects on the rest of SDRC. We should continue to welcome each and every new member, guest, and include them to the best of our ability. If they're not quite doing something wrong, education is fine in a nice way about how we use our boathouse. We also have the opportunity and the responsibility to let San Diego and its people, the community of San Diego, know that rowing exists, that it's fun, it's good for kids, and it's available, and we're here with programs, people, processes to make sure that they can have a good experience. As you may have seen in the news over the past year, rowing is not exactly the sport that gets defended at the university level or even the Olympic level. There is talk of, you've seen many universities and colleges cut their rowing program because it's convenient from a financial perspective. We have also seen discussions that the US Olympic Committee is considering taking the 2K race and making it 1,600 meters because it's more convenient to have the race in Long Beach Marine Stadium than to have someplace in a lake far away that is not accessible by a great amount of the public. So we should keep these things in mind as a greater rowing community, that our future is guaranteed if we make people know we exist, and that we're not paddling dragon boats. That's what everybody thinks I do. Okay, next slide. So what are we doing? Our DEI committee and others are working in creating awareness and coordinating with other organizations. The San Diego YMCA has just been a great resource for us, and we hope to expand that relationship with them. They're excited to work with us, and we are with them. Through our relationship, we have had, I believe, 18 young people come to the boathouse, and we have 5 of them that we are following through with right now to get into our various programs. So that's really been a good relationship. I created an introduction to the San Diego Prevent Drowning Foundation, because being able to swim is one of the primary prerequisites of a water sport. And they support programs around the county and are talking with us about how we might be one of their outlets with the kids who have learned how to swim. There's an organization started out of Milwaukee called STEM to Stern, and we're in conversation with them. U.S. rowing president is now Amanda Kraus from Row New York, and we have had a conversation with her about the opportunities and the pitfalls of trying to start a program that, you know, services underserved communities. She's certainly new in very big shoes and is busy, but I hope we can get some good things from her in her leadership at U.S. Rowing. But we're not waiting for her either. We will take our own initiative. San Diego Community Rowing at the San Diego Crew Classic, or Community Rowing San Diego Crew Classic, USD, UCSD, and NSLAC are all part of various conversations on this topic. And we're still finding our way to become a more diverse and equitable organization. We don't have all the answers. We could do nothing and all of our programs would be full, but doing nothing is not what we should do. So while we have some momentum, it will still take more effort to build a system and build a process that works and can be sustained. In our opportunities, we've filled all our Learn to Rows. I don't think there's a day when Glenn isn't teaching someone to row at the boathouse, or Sam Stitt. Chris, how many Learn to Rows have we been running over the last couple months? Any idea? You're on mute. Any rate.
One every 2 weeks.
One every 2 weeks, with how many participants?
4.
Okay. We've also done some boathouse tours in partnership with the Crew Classic. They brought a number of young people from a local YMCA, and they were able to have an Olympic athlete here at the boathouse, and that went really well. We hope to do more. The YMCA has included the San Diego Rowing Club as one of their recommended summer programs. That got us 3 kids last summer. We hope that as COVID settles down, we can have more. There's also discussions about erg education at various locations, and we'll see how that goes. In follow through, we need to turn these opportunities, so when these people come to visit the boathouse and learn to row, we need to turn them into active participants. So we're currently doing that follow through with 5 young people. We also have funding available for those with financial need. And we want to make sure that we actively include people into a group. There's nothing like arriving as, especially a middle schooler, into a group of kids you don't know, and you gotta help them make a friend. In terms of funding for all of this, we have a Title I scholarship fund of approximately $10,000. The juniors program allocates up to about $18,000 a year annually for scholarships. And we have $64,000 or $6,400 received recently for those with a financial need. And so we do have funding for people who cannot afford to row and who would like to learn how to row. And again, more details can be found if you would like to help out, join, get information from our DEI committee. In terms of capital plans, we did complete the locker room remodel. We have a few more details to work through. We are working through the hot water problems that we may have experienced. We have 15 new ergs purchased, the 5 new singles. Lockers were installed last month. Guardy skylight replacements were done last month. And if you go to the boathouse today, you will see that the old workbench is completely gone. The new one will be in installation on Monday. In 2021, we will add additional video capability in the erg room. We're not sure what we're going to do with that yet, but we'll figure it out. We prepped for it since we had the walls open. We also will figure out how to put an iCrew kiosk up at the front desk for those who forget their phone or just want to check out a boat conveniently. In the development area, we have continued to have very generous members. For a tough year, $67,000 in donations is just phenomenal. We also set up an account with a brokerage firm so that we could accept appreciated securities. This was new for us. If it allows for the person who has an appreciated security to donate it, take the full value without paying any capital gains taxes. If someone is interested, there is information on the san diego rowing.org website under donations, or they can reach out and talk to Chris or me. We have some next steps planned for 2021. We want to improve our financial needs scholarship program. There's some transparency that we need to improve. It was not aware to a large part of our membership that we do provide scholarships to our junior rowers. And we have provided as much as $18,000 in scholarships, I think, in 2019. We are continuing to improve the communications to our members and friends. Mark Rose has, he says it's a team effort, but he sure drives us to get the newsletter out in a timely manner every month. And very appreciative of that, Mark. And we'll keep doing that. And we are certainly working to keep our junior alumni program vibrant, as they will be our members in the future. So for those of you who are not aware of the junior alumni program, there is, if you are an alumni of junior and you are in a 4-year university, your membership fee is $99 a year, for which allows you to row when you're home from school. So Christmas time, the holidays, certainly with a lot of students being home, in COVID, we've extended that so that they could row while they're here instead of away at college. That provides us a gateway to have them join us as young adult members, and those numbers have been increasing. And then they turn into full members at age 28. Some of them, when they receive the email from Chris that says they are now an adult, a full, a regular member, and they now have to pay regular member fees, they cringe a little bit, but it's all good. We created these programs years ago to ensure that the rowing club would have a vibrant, continuing membership. And what better way to start than with the juniors who know who we are. Okay, we have some departing board members this year. Jane Peterson as captain, If I'm not wrong, she's been with us for 7 years. Through trials, tribulations, she has done a terrific job. She has created more programs that help us bring people from not knowing how to row to being part of a racing team. That's a pretty big accomplishment. She's helped us act in a fiscally responsible manner, buying the right boats for the right people, for the right groups. She's pushed us on things like the replaceable shoes in the boats. This solves the problem that used to be known as one size fits Tim. And that was Tim Wattenpaw, who was, I don't know, 6'7" and a size 14. And that was the size of the shoes in the boats. We now have boats that fit lightweight women. We have shoes that fit heavyweight men. And if members choose to do so, they can buy their own shoes and snap them right into the boat of their choosing. So Jane, thank you very much. We do expect to see you around and volunteering, and I hope you'll still take my calls. Tricia Draminsky. Tricia, have you been on the board for 3 years, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay. And she now has a team of her own to take care of with 2 small children. Really value you, and I hope you stay in touch and that you'll come back and row with us as soon as it is reasonably possible for you to do so.
Me too.
And Trish has been instrumental in getting right to the point on a few things in a very kind and thorough manner, and helping us make good decisions or putting in a good decision-making process. So I appreciate what you did for the membership and for the board. And then Tom Samp, he was our second vice president for a couple of years, and he moved to the East Coast. This morning, he's currently living in Pennsylvania, and this morning he sent me a picture of 2 feet of new fallen snow. And while it was beautiful, it is not my preferred environment. So Tom, I don't know that Tom's on the call today, but he was really a great competitor. He kept us all honest. You know, there wasn't a day that went by that you didn't see Tom out doing 20K. We have the COVID-19 that Tom arranged back in June. You had to do 19K and you could get a class. So I have mine. Tom, we really appreciate what you did for the rowing club, and perhaps someday you can come back out to San Diego and live in paradise. Okay, back to Jane for the Captain's Award.
Okay, so the Captain Award is a little bit different this year since we didn't have a typical racing season. So 2020 was a year where we relied on each other for inspiration and support in so many different ways. We needed to stay connected, and thank goodness for Sports U. So the Captain Award for 2020 goes to someone who stepped up and gathered those around and created a fun, consistent practice session based on sound training plans provided by Coach Kington. But best of all, every practice came complete with pre and post workout narratives with pictures and maps with circles and arrows. So to one who has cheated death another day, the Captain's Award goes to Ralph Johnson, Jedi Master 2020.
Great job, Ralph. Well earned. Okay, this year's President's Award. We have, and we
Just as a note, Ralph was out leading the Jedi this morning in 4x2K erging.
Good job. I must have missed that memo. We just got an applause from Jan De Jong for Ralph in the chat. So thank you. The 2021 President's Award is being given to two people who represent some of the best things about SDRC. They quietly perform their job, sometimes not so quietly, but the results are good, and they're respectful, and they learn from their mistakes. We rely on them tremendously. They have talent, and they make this club work every day. Our recipients are Avar Zianmar and Chris Callahan for their tireless efforts over many years to repair our buoy damaged boats, improve our fleet, and operate our organization with excellence and humility. Avar's is from Latvia. His wife's name is Lada. He used to work for Van Dusen and CRI before coming to SDRC. He and his wife moved to San Diego because they wanted to, quote, live in paradise, unquote. Ivar's is a master boat builder. He designed and built a boat similar to a Boston whaler while he was working in Europe. He designed CRIs, wakeless launches, and he's been with SDRC for about 7 years. Those of you who've had him fix your boats, he's terrifically skilled, and he does a great job. You notice that our repair log items get closed out very rapidly. But let's try not to give him too much work. Chris Callahan, he's celebrating his 10th anniversary with SDRC. Now here's a guy fresh off the national team, flies out to San Diego, gets interviewed by Hunter Butler and I think Dave Frost, maybe some others. They decide that, yeah, he's reasonable. He'd make a good coach. They bring him over to the office, and Rob Hibbler's in the office, and basically Hunter Butler says, here you go. This is Chris, this is Rob, run the boathouse. Chris was a guy who was hungry to learn how to operate a business, and he absorbed as much as he could from Rob. At one point, they could basically do each other's jobs. Then they were so in tune that things just got better and better. We have a really smooth membership operation. Our telephones get answered, people's questions get answered. And that's the first step to bringing people into the rowing club is they reach out, somebody's there and can help answer their questions. We really have a tremendous fleet of boats. It's not uncommon for visitors to walk in and just not quite understand what they're seeing, and that it is, that some of the fleet is available for guests to row. I'm proud to know and be friends with Chris and his wife, Danny. I'm glad he's on our side, especially when we're in a race. Thanks, Chris, very much. And Ivars, thank you. You've been just a terrific addition to the boathouse. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now we're into officer elections. So at this point, the existing board is going to step back virtually, and Ed Parrish, member of our nominating committee, will take over the running of the elections. He will present the, this year was done a little differently because of COVID, so I'll explain a little bit. We put out the call for people who wanted to be on the board early. We created a new nominating committee with 2 women and 1 man. The nominating committee was interviewed all of the potential candidates and used a pretty even and equitable discernment process to come up with the slate for 2021. Ed, I'm going to let you take it over from this point forward.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I have to take a deep breath after listening to all of that wonderful, positive news. It's actually amazing what the board has been able to accomplish during our COVID. This is my first year on a nominating committee, and I was joined by 2 other women. Leslie Buford and Donna Verhaar, otherwise known as Donna V. And as Dan mentioned, we sent out an invitation. If you were interested in the board, send your information in. We'll do an interview. And then we sat back and we waited. We actually got more applications than choices to fill. So an easy job turned into, I'll use the word challenging. We had basically 3 positions to fill, the captain and 2 lieutenants. And for those of you that don't know, the lieutenant's position, if you read the bylaws, lieutenants work to the pleasure of the captain. So the captain doesn't need to do everything. I don't know that Jane used that enough. Those lieutenants were available to do a lot of those other chores and opportunities. Out of the interviews, which all went very well, we had all candidates that would make excellent board members, but we had to make some choices. And we decided that we were going to individually rank and see what happens. And fortunately, and I think it took a lot of stress off of us, we actually, all 3 of us ranked identical. We were in total agreement on who we thought would be good recommendations for 2021 board. So if Chris can put that slide up, if that's available. Is there a slide that shows the slate? There we go. And you notice we have some of the returning board members, which means there's a nice solid core of experience. And I expect that the new members, the 2 lieutenants, Katrine and Maddie, and that our Captain Tom will be taken in with open arms, educated, helped out. I know Jane is, I think she's still going to be with us. I definitely need her on the Jedi row. She is my, she's my challenge. She's hard to keep up with. So this is our board. At this point in the meeting, this is the nominations committee's presented slate. So I turn to the general membership and ask, are there any floor nominations?
You can either express that you want to speak by pressing the raise hand or posting something in the chat.
So if there are no floor nominations, we'll proceed with the election. At this point, I need from the floor a motion to approve the slate as presented. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the slate as presented.
A second is not required. At this point, we vote.
So Chris,
So the Zoom host can handle the voting.
Yep. 1 second, Ed. Let me check one thing. So just hang out for.
Who on the floor presented the motion?
Rich Cosgrove.
Rich.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
All right, so we can run the poll.
So if you can present those numbers to our secretary and determine, do we have a majority of yes votes?
Okay. So the poll that you guys will get up on your screen here shortly is to vote yes or no for the slate. If you have voted by proxy, please do not vote again. It will take me longer to weed out the duplicates. And here we go. If you are an employee or a coach, you cannot vote. A non-paying member, employee, or a coach. Give another 30 seconds or so. All right, on my end, it looks like we haven't received any new votes in the last 30 seconds, so I will end the poll.
And at this time, Chris and Willard will be working a little bit offline to come up with the tally. So this is going to take a few minutes if you'll bear with us. This time is also a good time for you to enter any questions in the Q&A section. That part of the board meeting will be coming up shortly.
For those of you that can see the background on my display and you are into sculling, that is a photograph of a 24-seat shell, 24 rowers, 48 oars. It's called the Stamfley 24. Visited our clubhouse a few years back, part of a fundraiser. Essentially 3/8 that are linked together. And it's pretty amazing to watch 24 scullers and how coordinated they were and how easily they maneuvered on Mission Bay.
As a coxswain of that 24, I wouldn't say it was easily maneuverable.
Well, I think on the time I went out, it was the gentleman who brought the shell, and he used some techniques that, especially there's a sequence of sculling, you can make a shell move sideways, not forward, not backward, sideways. He used that command with some fore and aft shelling and moved us off the shore, and then proceeded to use some very strange commands, but everybody did what they were told. And
Hey, yeah, I need to interrupt. I'm told that a member did raise their hand during the floor nomination section, and we did not give them an opportunity to speak. So we're going to have to step back.
okay.
It was Glenn, and he was seconding the motion.
Okay, thank you. Let's proceed.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Ed, we do have results. 100% yes votes to approve the slate, roughly 80 votes total. So based on the vote, the slate of proposed candidates for the 2021 Board of Directors has been approved by the club membership.
Okay, so as the current chair of this meeting, I present the 2021 Board of Directors, and I turn it back to the 2021 President of the board.
Okay, I'd like to give this opportunity for Tom and Katrina and Maddie to join the conversation and briefly address the membership. So let's start with Tom. Are you available?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to say hello to everyone. I'm sure there's a ton of people in this meeting that I haven't yet met in person, thanks to the difficulties of the past year. But just wanted to say thank you for electing me to this role, and I am extremely excited to serve and help in any way that I can. And wanted to give a big thank you to Jane for all of her work and leadership over her time as captain. And I wish she hadn't done such a great job, because I feel like she's left enormous shoes to fill. So thank you, Jane, and I'm sure that I will be leaning on you as well as the lieutenants as much as you all will bear me. So thank you all very much, and excited and looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Tom. Glad to have you on the board. I think you will bring a new level of competitiveness to the rowing club. Okay, Katrina, can you come on and say a few words and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, everybody. My name is Katrina Chakowski, and I'm humbled and encouraged, and really looking forward to what the future brings us. We have a fantastic boathouse, fantastic leadership, amazing community of people of all ages, with so much possibility. And so I am honored by your trust. I hope that I can live up to your expectations and go San Diego Rowing Club.
Thank you, Katrina. Glad to have you on the board. I'm sure we'll have lots to discuss, and we'll make this place even better. Maddie, can you join us for a few minutes and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Maddie, or Madeline, to those of you who I haven't actually met yet. I was a junior member at SDRC actually a long time ago, when our boats were, averaging more than 10 years old. And now that I'm a master rower, I try and get out there as much as possible. A bunch of my friends, after moving back from Colorado, were all made through the boathouse. So I'm really excited to be able to give back to my boathouse and really have fun doing so. I'm really excited to work with the board, most of which or a decent amount of which I've met already and worked with for a decent number of things. And if you guys ever need anything, I'm always here, and I very much look forward to being able to serve you. My baby sister is a junior now, and she's a juniors coxswain, and very proud of my little junior sister and our juniors team. So my hope is that we can make more rowers out of these chitlins and turn them into returning SDRC members and returning maybe board members later. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Maddie. Glad to have you on board. Look forward to your ideas from your perspective. And, that's always, we always need the next generation on the board. Okay, the floor is now open for question and answer. I don't see any questions queued up, but if you do have them, raise your hands, and Chris will change the focus to you. Or you can put them in the chat if you like, or you can put it in Q&A. So we're open for the members. All right, doesn't sound like there's any Q&A. We don't have any new business this year, so we can skip that portion of the meeting. Oh, there's the Q&A slide. Sorry. Before we adjourn, there is a following. Okay, Dave Ward has asked a question. Do we have a few minutes to outline the boathouse improvements coming in the future? Can we allow Dave to talk and be seen?
Yeah. Dave, you should be able to talk.
That was all I wanted to say, Dan. The improvements to the showers and locker rooms are greatly appreciated. We've had discussions about more far-reaching things. I just don't know if they are in the distant future, or anyone knows when they might happen or what might happen.
So I'm going to assume that you're speaking of our expanded boathouse plans.
Correct.
I think that certainly the events of this last year really put that on a far back burner. But it'd be good, I'll just say it'd be good for the board to take up that future looking towards that future again and see where we are. We do need to do some work to improve our diplomacy to the outside world, to organizations that might be able to help fund us in a significant manner, and just keep track better of people who've been generous in the past and their interest in the rowing club. But that would probably be, we just haven't spent any time on that this last year. We'll take a look at it again.
Well, thank you, and congratulations to the whole new board and to everyone who's just left the board. Everyone's done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate your support, and it's always great to see you at the boathouse. Does anybody else have any questions?
I can speak to just a couple things in the coming, near future projects. The new workbench will be installed and operational by the end of next week. We are hoping to have an ice machine and a second water fountain operational in the next month or two. Constant, as boats come and go, moving boats in and out. If the fundraising is there for newer equipment, for those with private boats, trying to get those that are up high down into usable spots, and those boats that are not being used up high, to keep the maximum number of boats, private boats, being used. If there are other projects that people would like to see done around here, that is something great to email me or talk to me about, and I can evaluate and see what we can do. We are working on a project with Richard right now, and just open to ideas on how to make this a better place for everyone, and safer, better in any way. But feel free to talk to me if there's any issues. Try not to go to the board right away. If you have a complaint, come to me first, as that is my job to deal with such things. But basically I'm here for the membership. So if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, please come to me directly.
At the moment, we are in the process of painting parts of the interior of the boathouse. So if you are interested in volunteering to paint, please let Chris know. Okay. All right. So one more thing before we adjourn is, following the adjournment of the general meeting, there is a presentation that some of the ladies put together for Jane, that video presentation that will be played across the Zoom meeting. So I encourage you to stay for an additional 3 minutes to watch that. I make a motion to adjourn the 2021 annual general membership meeting.
Second the motion.
You're not on the board, Tricia.
I second the motion.
Becca seconds the motion.
Tricia just wants to leave.
She no longer has the power.
No.
She pushes the button and nothing happens.
Hey, Tricia, Elmo.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. All right. The 2021 annual general membership meeting is adjourned.